I would like to say, I guess, that this is a movement that has a lot of lessons to offer, especially in today's world. And I think that it's important to learn about the movement. That are going on in the movement are being done by other movements also. And I think that's good news. In religious traditions, and they're all doing service around the world. And I really think hear these moderate voices more in Europe, for example, than you do in the United States. I'm Helen Rose Ebaugh. I'm a professor of sociology at the University of Houston Central Campus, and I've been there for many years, and I teach the sociology of religion, especially world religions, and I'm also a researcher there, where I've done research on various sociology of religion related topics. I think that one of the biggest contributions that the Hizmet movement is making in the world is through their educational institutions, especially their schools at the grammar and higher levels, for various reasons. One, students from various groups in the community are attending these schools. They're getting to know one another personally. And I think this kind of personal contact and getting to know one another is the absolute best method for interfaith dialogue. When they really know another person as a person, that's promoting dialogue among groups. But I also think that the Hizmet movement makes a contribution in these countries by providing educational opportunity for these students. I believe very firmly that one of the best ways to help people in a country have more opportunity is through education, through good, solid education. One of the things that has very much impressed me, both in Turkey and as I've interviewed around the world, is the fact that many of these students who go to Gulen-affiliated schools or inspired schools go on to higher education. They're able to pass these universal university exams, and it gives them opportunity for higher education. And that in itself promotes opportunity. So I think it's important both for interfaith reasons and also for opportunity reasons. And of course, also in these schools, Islam is not being taught directly, but many of the schools I've visited do expose students to various religious traditions around the world. And many of the teachers are inspired by the movement. And I think the teachers in these movements are one of the reasons for their success. These teachers are tremendously dedicated. After hours and visiting homes and tutoring students, I'm amazed at the enthusiasm and commitment of most of these teachers. I think the charitable activities of the Hizmet movement is one of their strongest points. I was very impressed the first time I visited Kimse Yakmut and the relief organization in Istanbul, and to see the kind of outreach they have all over the world. I mean, disasters happen. Earthquakes and hurricanes, and they're one of the first people there. And often the way people meet God and people from the movement is in situations like that. People don't forget it. Just like all of these social services that the Hizmet movement provides, that's how the majority of people get to know about the Hizmet movement. they are benefited by one of these outreach services. And then they want to know, where does this come from? Who are these good people that are doing this for me? So I think the charitable outreach of the movement is critical from all kinds of perspectives. One, that's just part of Islam like it is of other world religions. And secondly, it's a way for people to get to know more about the movement. So I think the charitable outreach is central to the movement. I think the reason that people are so generous in their donations, especially people first within the movement, is that it's part of their commitment to the movement. And what I learned in my research in Turkey is that almost everybody without exception contributes to the activities of the movement. And they do it often in a quiet way. The old saying that the right hand shouldn't know what the left is doing, you hear that over and over. But it's their way of supporting the movement that they believe in and that they are so vitally part of. And the interesting thing is, regardless of what people give, we know as sociologists that they give not just to show their commitment, but it also builds commitment. When you make a contribution to something, you have a stake in it. So I think it's a circular thing. It's one of the reasons that make people so firmly committed to the movement. It's their movement. And what I learned is that from the wealthiest businessman to the poorest blue-collar worker, they're all contributing something. And what I learned from my data is, it's somewhere between 5 and 20%. Most people are giving around 10% of whatever it is they make. Now, that's followers within the movement. Now, what I saw at Kimsi Yakmu was interesting, because it's one of the first times I saw outsiders also contributing to the charitable works of the movement. It's the first time I encountered this phenomena, now this is 2008, of using cell phones to make your contribution. You see an ad on TV, a solicitation on TV, you put it in your cell phone, and through your cell phone bill, you make a contribution to Kimsi Yakmu. I thought that was brilliant. I came home and suggested it to some of the nonprofit organizations I work with. There are boxes all around Turkey, in schools and wherever, where people can make donations to Kimsi Yakmu. There are a lot of people in the Hizmet movement that are very smart business-wise. That's another thing I learned. They're smart, and they're very creative in terms of these kind of initiatives. In 2008, we also interviewed 25 of some of the very vocal critics of the movement. And so I'm very familiar with the major criticisms, that they're not transparent enough, that they have hidden motives, that they're planning a coup, whatever. My response was always this to those critics. Not response, but a question. I would say to them, I hear what you're saying, and that would be frightening to anybody if it were true. But I would like to see the data. I'd like to see on what basis you make these criticisms. And all of them were not able to show me that data. Usually the response was, well, everybody knows it. And I would say, well, I certainly don't. And I would like to see some data that corroborates these criticisms. And so I'm afraid that a lot of the criticisms that I'm familiar with are kind of based on ideological differences. They're not based on good, accurate data. And that's what I would like to see. In terms of memories that I carry with me on my trips to Turkey, one of the most memorable are the dinners in the homes, the supporters of the movement. I think that's what's so wonderful about the interfaith trips that are provided by organizations within the movement. So often when you go to a travel agent and you sign up for a trip to Turkey, you don't get this opportunity to really have a meal with local people. And that is extremely valuable. One of my memories is we were sitting around these wonderful couches after dinner in a home, and the head of the household had just gotten back from Mecca, and he brought some of this holy water from Mecca. Precious, just a little bit of it. And he got out, I think we were 12 or 13 people. He laid out these little glasses, and each one of us got a little water in our glass, and we all stood together and faced Mecca and drank our water together. And that so impressed me. And then my family is very Roman Catholic. And there was a person in one of the homes that had beads, Islamic beads, and I made the comment. I said, these are so much like the rosaries in Catholicism. I said, oh, my brothers would just be impressed to know that the Muslims have beads like the Roman Catholics. And he said, how many brothers do you have? I said, I have 4 brothers and 1 sister. So I walked away with 6 of those beads, beautiful crystal beads. That's the kind of hospitality that really, really speaks. It was a wonderful, just a wonderful experience, but I learned so much in those homes. You really feel the commitment, and always you left with a gift. I mean, the Turkish hospitality is just remarkable, but you also walked away with that spirit of the movement. Probably more than anywhere else, I felt it in those homes. These are the people who are really committed. I would like to say, I guess, that this is a movement that has a lot of lessons to offer, especially in today's world. And I think that it's important to learn about the movement, to learn about its origins, to learn about its immigration around the world. I think that there's much in the spirit of the movement that can contribute to people's own lives. To see these dedicated people, many of them very professionally educated and capable, who are operating out of a deeply spiritual framework. And I think the Hizmet movement is really a very moderate voice in the world in terms of Islam. And we just need more of that. So I would say anything that would promote the visibility of the movement. And that's why I do the kind of lecturing I do. And I was interviewed for the Love is a Verb film. And I think those kind of opportunities for people to learn about the movement are very, very valuable. It's been a wonderful experience, an opportunity in my life to have the opportunity to get to know these people. I don't know if I would have if I hadn't had graduate students from the movement, if I hadn't gotten involved in lecturing and having the research opportunity. But it's just been a marvelous, marvelous addition to my life to meet these people. I think the Hizmet movement is one of the moderate voices condemning terrorism and violence of any sort. I'm hoping that now, in the light of this increasing terrorism around the world, we'll hear more of the moderate voices.
So on a variety of fronts and in a variety of ways, I think Fethullah Gulen and the Hizmet movement have offered a profound positive contribution to our understanding of faith and community.